Hey guys, it's Emily. Welcome to Posie Lane. Today we're going to be making a fall sensory calming jar. I had so much fun making one a little while back that was like a galaxy theme. And going into fall, I want something to sit out that's a fall decoration, but that also I can kind of fidget and play around with. And I was thinking, I had so much fun dyeing rice last time, and ever since then, I've been wondering, like, what else can I dye? So I've been kind of going through my head and like, what else will I actually take food coloring and dye? So I was thinking about corn and how corn is like a perfect fall thing. And so I was like, what if I could dye corn? That would be so fun. And so today we're actually going to be dyeing corn kernels to put into the jar. So every time I hear the word corn, I think about the cartoon from, I think it's the first time Donald Duck is in a cartoon, and it's the little red hen, and she's going to the pig, and she's going to Donald Duck, and she's like, will you help me plant my corn? I can't do it very well, but in my head, like the little hen runs through my head every time I hear the word corn. So she's like, will you help me plant my corn? And of course, you know, both of the pig and Donald Duck are like, no, we have a bellyache. And she keeps asking them for help, and eventually she wisens up that they're not really sick. And she gives them castor oil. When everything's done, they think they're going to get to eat like cornbread and all the fixins, and they have castor oil instead. I am Southern. It comes out. I live near the city. Every so often my Southern drawl comes out, and fixins, when you make dinner, you fix dinner. And there's nothing really that you're fixing about dinner, but you fix it. And the fixins is the things kind of that go on the side. Like you have meat and your fixins. Let's talk about dyeing the corn first, because we need a lot more things actually for dyeing the corn than we need for actually assembling the jar. So with the corn, you're gonna need popcorn, just, you know, regular popcorn, and you're gonna need dye. And for fall colors, I'm doing red and yellow. And with this, you wanna use liquid instead of the gel, because it just works better when you're actually dyeing things to have the liquid instead of the gel, because the gel will just stick to one or two things and it doesn't move around like you need it to. You need vinegar, and this is just white distilled vinegar, paper towels, a paper plate, gloves, because otherwise your hands will look like you're a crime suspect using red. That's not funny, okay? But I can't do blood. Like, I'm an empathetic person, I guess. Like, I hear people talk about being an empath, so I feel things that others feel. So I remember watching this Revolutionary War movie with Mel Gibson in it, and what was it called? The Patriot. Okay, yes, it was The Patriot. And I looked at myself and had my arm, I had grabbed my leg because a guy had lost his leg with a cannonball. And I'm sitting there like this, and I'm feeling the pain of whoever it is on TV, which they're not really feeling it. But man, I was like hurting all over because of the blood. And so when I see this and it makes it look like blood, I can't do it, because I start to think about like someone hurting, and then I start hurting all over myself. And then some measuring cups and some sandwich baggies and a gallon size bag. For assembling the jar, I have just a regular old mason jar. And it would be cool if you had one that had the harvest kind of like cornucopia look for fall, but I couldn't find that at my store, so I just have this one, and it will work just fine. I have twine, which I found at the dollar store, and some paper and markers and scissors to make a tag for it. And then I also have shredded Mylar to put into the jar. I dyed some rice for a jar like this, and if you want to see it, the link should be somewhere around here or up here. We're going to dye the rice first. Oh, what did I say? Rice. I meant corn. Corn kernels. That's hard to say. Like, say that 5 times fast. Corn kernels, corn kernels, corn kernels. We're going to dye the corn kernels first, and they actually take a while to dry, so I made some ahead of time, but I want to do this for you so you can see. I looked up several tutorials on how to do it, and there really was almost nothing out there on how to do it, or their results looked splotchy. So I kind of played around with this week, made this like a science experiment and tried out different ways. And I'm going to show you what I found seemed to work best for me. So first I'm using a bigger bag so it's easier to move everything around. So this is a gallon size bag and I'm going to work in 1/2 cup batches. So for the jar, you need 2 cups. So you'll need to do 4 batches in all, and you could really set them all out at once and add everything, but I'm just going to do one right now. So first I'm going to get a 1/2 cup of corn. Just put that in the bag, and then we're going to get the vinegar. And vinegar, if you've ever looked up like how to dye eggs at home, they always have vinegar in it. So if you've ever dyed like Easter eggs, I'm kind of doing something similar to like dyeing Easter eggs. So this just helps the dye get really in there and be bright and vibrant versus like just sticking the corn in with some dye itself. So for this, you're gonna need a tablespoon. I'm just gonna add a couple drops of food coloring, and I'm going to do yellow for you guys. When I was looking at like dyeing Easter eggs, it just sits for a while in it and it soaks it up. And corn is kind of like more like an Easter egg. It's not as porous and it doesn't absorb everything. And so that's why I'm doing it where I'm going to let it sit for a while in it to try to soak up everything. Because with the rice I did, all you had to do was shake it up and it was dyed immediately and it soaked up all the color. But this, if you can see, as I'm moving it around, there's like a puddle of the dye. So I'm wanting to really let the corn kind of sit in the puddle and move around so that it will absorb more of that color. When I did the red, it reminded me of like fake blood. When I was a kid, there was a trick shop and magic shop on this square near where I lived, and you could go get like fake things. And I remember there being like fake blood and like buzzers where you could like shake someone's hand and buzz at them, or there was a trick bubble gum where someone would take a stick of bubble gum and it get them on the finger. But yeah, it reminded me of the fake blood from like a trick shop. So I'm not doing that. I'm gonna spare you guys from that. I'm just doing the yellow for you. After I have massaged it for a bit, I'm gonna let it sit for 10 minutes and just try to soak up as much of the dye as it can. So I will come back after it's been 10 minutes. So it's been 10 minutes, and when I say let it sit there for 10 minutes, I kind of went back to it periodically and kind of massaged it and worked it around to make sure the dye was really getting into all of the corn and that it was going to be even. But I would do it and then I'd come back to it, I'd go away, and then I'd massage it a little bit again. And so now it's been 10 minutes and we're ready to lay it out onto a plate. So when I had mentioned earlier, the corn like doesn't fully absorb the dye. So it's going to be pretty messy. So we need gloves now so that our hands don't turn yellow and orange and red and all the fun colors that we're dyeing. Make sure that you have paper towels to absorb it because there is going to be a good bit of liquid. And then I have a paper plate underneath to set it on. And then I have a second paper plate to put it on after I absorb the initial like dye and vinegar mixture. So I'm just going to pat it down and make sure that most of the really wet parts get absorbed. And then I'm going to actually transfer it to the other plate because I think if it stays in all this wet stuff, it's going to take forever to dry. So I'm just going to put it onto here now. Let me show you what I meant by there's a lot of extra. Do you see all that dye? Yeah, if it sat in that, that would take a long time. Now, when I dried the other corn, I want to say rice over and over again. When I dried the other corn, it took several hours, like 3 or 4 hours to dry. So you just want to get a good single layer so it won't take too long, and just come back to it once it feels all the way dry and it will be ready to use for a jar. So I was thinking about fall colors and I wanted it to mimic fall leaves because I love when all the leaves change. So I did yellow, and I did 2 batches of the yellow, so a cup in total. I did red, which look how like bright red that is. It's so pretty. And then I also did orange. And this orange, I did just equal parts yellow and red dye and made the orange because I couldn't find I couldn't find orange food coloring. So I went back to my basic art class, elementary school days, and mixed yellow and red together to make orange. Okay, so we live like less than a mile from a local airport, and while I'm filming, I have to stop sometimes because there's an airplane flying by. And there's like actually a school for the airplanes, and so a lot of times they make a circle. Not for the airplanes, but for being a pilot. Okay, my husband's laughing at me on screen. Okay, there's a school to become a pilot really close by, and so they make like really simple circles because they're just trying to learn like basics of how to like fly and land. And seriously, sometimes they'll be circling for like an hour over and over and over, and you're like, could you not right now, because you're gonna be in my video. You see what I mean? I wanted something shiny and gold to put into the jar. Just something about having something metallic and shiny is kind of mesmerizing. And I want it to be gold because I think it's going to look really good with all these warm fall colors. And so when I was looking at different things, I found this Mylar. It's shredded Mylar. And Mylar is like the things that balloons are made out of if you don't have like a latex balloon. So like the happy birthday balloons that you find at the party store are made with Mylar. But I never actually seen it shredded, and I think it looks so pretty. If you can't find this, you could always use glitter or you could use confetti, but I really wanted to try this out. So we're gonna fill it up, and I'm gonna get this jar open. And I have a feeling the Mylar is going to be everywhere, but I think it's gonna be worth it because I think it's going to look really pretty. So I'm gonna start with the yellow because I have more of that, and I'm going to layer it like you would a 7-layer salad. So 7-layer salad is something my mother-in-law makes every Thanksgiving, and it is the best. And you layer each ingredient, and there's 7 layers, and then you toss it all together. And there's something about it sitting like for a while all together that makes it taste so good. So we call it the salad. We don't even say 7-layer salad. And so it's like, did you make the salad? And it has peas in it that are so sweet, and cauliflower. And I really don't know what all the 7 layers are, but I need to learn how to make it because it is so good. This makes me think about candy corn too. And I was watching something the other day that was talking about how candy corn was originally called chicken feed or something like that. And can you imagine if you had candy that you ate and you're like, oh, I just love eating chicken feed? Like, I think candy corn is such a better name than chicken feed. I'm going to fill up the jar all the rest of the way to here, but I want to add the Mylar in a little bit before I add the last of the corn. I didn't quite use all the corn, but I think it's going to look really good. I'm just going to shake it up now. I want everything to kind of be incorporated and kind of get rid of the layers and get this all mixed in. See how like the Mylar is sticking a little bit, but it really is incorporating well into the corn. To finish it off, I'm going to add some of this rope. Is it rope? Is it twine? I guess it's twine. I'm gonna add it around the top and do a simple bow. I think I'm just gonna tie it like you would a shoelace. So it's just really easy. this jar is going to look really pretty just sitting out. I like to add little touches of fall. I don't go crazy with my decorations for fall, but I like to add things here or there in my house to make it feel just a little bit more like the new season. So I'm gonna just set this out probably on like my coffee table, and then whenever I want to, I can grab it, or my kids can grab it, and we can just play with it. If you hear it, it reminds me of like a rain stick. Did you ever have a rain stick when you were a kid? I remember going to this earth store that was at the local mall that had like rocks, and I don't know, it was like a nature friendly, earth friendly store, and they always had rain sticks that you could play with. When do you start decorating for fall? I feel like as soon as it's Labor Day, it's okay to put out fall decorations. I don't wait till it's officially fall at the end of September. But there's other people I know that already have their decorations out as soon as school starts. So what are you? Are you like an early decorator, or do you have to wait until it's exactly time? Or are you like me, and it's like as soon as it's Labor Day, let's get that fall stuff out? Okay, sorry, I had to shake it. I'm like a maraca. Do you remember in Meet the Robinsons, she's like, I got maracas. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week. I had so much fun making this. I think I'm gonna have so much fun playing with it. I hope you guys have a great day, and I can't wait for next week.